2024 has been a very interesting year. On one side, you've got a lot of people who feel that the gaming industry is in shambles at this point, that there's so many problems, there's been a ton of bad games, that the industry is really in a rut, that there's problems with the games, and a lot of stuff just isn't good. And you know what? I completely understand that. There has been some disappointments. There has not been as many high reviewed games as we got last year. And overall, there are some things that are cause for concern when it comes to some of the monetization, some of the yearly rehashes and re-releases that we get, and so many other issues. But I do implore all of you guys to hear me out on this one and realize that ATLUS with Metaphor ReFantazio and all the other games that they released actually carried 2024, and the industry might not be as bad off as you think. But before we get into all that, what's good everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first. And let's go ahead and jump right into this because I have seen a plethora of videos, people talking about the issues with modern gaming, the problems that we have overall. And once again, I'm not going to discredit those. A lot of these people are my friends, people that I collaborate with, and I'm not disagreeing with what they say overall. There is definitely some truth to their message. However, I think that a lot of that, I would say, issues, or a lot of those issues are because people don't necessarily play all of the best games, or maybe they're just not in what they personally like. Now, for me, I'm looking at 2024 and I'm looking from the top to the bottom, and overall, yes, some duds, but there has been some amazing games. Not as good as 2023. I'll admit that. Obviously, there was a lot more games, especially on the Western front with stuff like Alan Wake and other titles that were really good, that people did enjoy a lot and reviewed high, and Game of the Year and all that stuff. Baldur's Gate was awesome too for Western developers. But this year, ATLUS with Metaphor ReFantazio and all the other games that released, they've been carrying things. It has been an incredible run for some great independent developers in addition to big RPGs. If you look at the top rated big games of 2024, it's Tekken 8, Metaphor ReFantazio, Astrobot, it's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. A lot of it is from Japanese developers, and people are missing out on a lot of these games as these aren't the biggest sellers overall. So I can understand why a lot of people are saying, okay, well, there's some issues here and there because they don't always play all of the best stuff. Now, if you look at Metaphor ReFantazio, one of the highest rated games of the year, it's got a 94 average on PlayStation 5, it's got a 92 average on PC and the Xbox platforms. It's really good, but it wasn't just Metaphor ReFantazio that launched on October 11th that's kept things afloat. There has been a ton of great games from ATLUS that has shown that they've actually carried 2024. Out of any publisher that's released at least 3 games or more, ATLUS has the highest overall average. If you look at the big games releases, you go back to February 1st, 2024, you've got Persona 3 Reload, 87 overall Metacritic, 1 million plus seller. People really enjoyed that remake of the game, although there were some issues here and there with the core fans compared to what they put in the game, some of the DLC, some of the other stuff, but overall, it's looked at as a great remake of the game. Unicorn Overlord, which ATLUS did publish, and that was Vanillaware, that was on March 8th, 2024. Fantastic strategy RPG hybrid blend. It is impeccable in terms of what they were able to do with the characters, the art style, the story. It is really good. Now that also hit 1 million units sold after a number of months on the market, but once again, not as big as some of the other big best-selling games out there for even this year or last year or the year before, but still really good for Vanillaware, and actually their fastest game ever to hit 1 million units, and people are still picking it up. I think it's going to be a good seller over the Black Friday holiday period and over just the holiday period in general as it goes on sale for like 30 bucks, and people are saying, okay. And people will look back and say, oh yeah, Unicorn Overlord. Yeah, that game reviewed actually pretty well. That has an 86 plus on Metacritic. I think like an 87, 89 or something like that when it comes to the Nintendo Switch version for that portable play. And then we move on to June 14th, 2024, that's when Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance launched. Another game with a mid to high Metacritic 80s score overall. Very good game, takes the base of SMT5 that's already excellent but has a number of flaws here and there, completely revamps it with a ton of quality of life features, like hundreds of different things that they've done to demons, adding stuff in, adding nice little attacks and innate skills that they have, adding different abilities, adding so much core content as well with the new path that you can play with the female companion and her whole storyline and everything that happens there. It is so good. Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance is exactly how you do a re-release. I know there were some people upset with the re-release of the game 3 years later. They played the original, but I think that there's enough new content in Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance to warrant the game replaying it again if you want to play the new path, because it's a brand new story and it fixes so many of the issues that people had with SMT5 on the vanilla playthrough when it comes to Nintendo Switch, especially with not having enough human companions in your team and the story. That was the biggest thing with that game. And while SMT5 Vengeance doesn't have like the greatest story or anything like that, for what they were able to do in that time period and how they're able to, I would say, modify things and make it far more engaging, I think that Shin Megami Tensei Vengeance did an incredible job with that. And I loved every bit of the 150 hours plus that I put into that game. And I got cooked multiple times towards the end. I didn't realize the boss was that hard. I remember beating him a bit quicker and some of the other stuff. But anyway, there's a lot more strategies and stuff that you can do in the game. It's not as hard overall because they added so many quality of life features to it. So SMT5 Vengeance is another game that sold 500,000 units right then and there with the new release of the game on all platforms. And then if you combine it with the original Shin Megami Tensei 5, it sold over 1.6 million. It's actually the best-selling game ever in the SMT franchise. And then we have the big dog, the one that everyone's talking about at this point, and that is Metaphor ReFantazio. And I think a game that's going to be around for a while because Switch 2 is around the way, and then you know Atlus is going to re-release it or do some type of thing like they always do with their games. Heck, Persona 3 Reload, what is that, like the 4th, 5th release of the game so far overall with Persona 3? So if you look at Metaphor ReFantazio, this is the game to me that really is the top of the mountain when it comes to what Atlus did for 2024, and I think one of the best Atlus games ever created. Now, I'm about 60 plus hours into it. I'm playing on the hard difficulty. I know there's some people already beating it, going through and getting through it pretty quickly, but I want to experience everything. I want to have those exhilarating battles. I want to be able to be challenged. I want to have the, I would say, strategy and really explore the depth of the archetype combat system. So that's the reason why it's taking me a bit longer. Plus, I don't have as much time to play as well. I would love to play the game for 10 hours plus a day, but I can't. Got to do other stuff, got adult responsibilities, which is always the thing. You always have like more money to play the games, right, and all that to buy them, but then you don't have the time in order to really put into it. But I've been doing my best, playing a number of hours every single night that I can after work, and I'm really enjoying Metaphor ReFantazio. This game does so many good things, and yes, 1 million units plus in that first 24 hours, but I really hope that it continues on here. I really hope that it continues to have some legs when it comes to the sales, because this game is exactly what we needed when it comes to the industry and RPGs. It's a massive title that has a lot of content. It's up to $70, so you have to get that content for your money, and it has all of that. But I think that what it does is that it innovates upon the formula that Atlus has laid out over the last 30 years. It takes some things from the SMT franchise. Obviously, you have the press turn system, press turn battles, which is great. You hit that weakness, you get an extra turn. But then it also takes some of the stuff from Persona when it comes to the calendar system, the day-by-day stuff, the increasing of your stats. It takes some of the good stuff from that and leaves out a lot of the bad stuff that maybe is a bit monotonous or maybe not as good for everyone, like Mementos or Tartarus, stuff like that. We're gonna have individually designed areas and locations for you to go through as dungeons and play with boss battles, side bosses, and all of that. So it removes some of the frustration that I had, especially some of the school stuff, which is okay, but after doing it for Persona 3, Persona 4, Persona 5, it was good to have a system that has a calendar system, but not relegated to always having to go to the class and dealing like with the town and the city and all of that. So for me, looking at Metaphor ReFantazio, what it was able to do with the combat system as well was just incredible. The archetypes and not having to do demon negotiation in order to get a demon on your team and spending a ton of time fusing, which once again is very good, but I've been doing that now for decades when it comes to SMT games and Persona. We're not going to do that. We're going to actually make it to where your social links give you new archetypes. That's something that's new for the SMT/Persona formula, and I like it just way more. I think that maybe just because I've done so much of SMT and Persona and Demon Fusion over and over, and that's not even counting Soul Hackers that also does the same thing, and now we actually have a job class system, which I really do love. Games like Xenoblade Chronicles 3, games like Bravely Default, these all have these class systems, which I think I like a bit more than a bunch of different demons that you can use and fuse and have to talk to them and they're acting all silly and weird in order to get you to join their team and all that, which is, once again, I kind of played out on that a bit, but for this, it doesn't have that, and you can experience that awesome press turn system without having to do that and really focus on the bonds that you have with your teammates in addition to other people to further explore and get new archetypes, get new different attacks and ways to build up your characters. So I love that about this game. The story is incredible as well. It's one of the highest rated games for a reason, and that's why I think if you look at Metaphor ReFantazio, 94, Shin Megami Tensei Vengeance, 87 plus. Look at Unicorn Overlord as well, 86 to 89 depending on the version. Persona 3 Reload, 87 plus. This is one of the better averages for 4 games or so from one publisher out there, one dev publisher out there overall. So for me, that's why ATLUS and Metaphor ReFantazio has carried 2025, and things maybe aren't as bad as some might say. Now, once again, not dismissing the problems. There's definitely issues overall, but I do think that people have to also be able to give games like this a chance. A lot of people don't want to give these games a chance, or they just play it for a bit and just fall off of it and go back to their normal Call of Duty, or they go back to their normal Fortnite, or whatever the case is. But if you actually stick with some of these games and get through it, people don't have as much time and everything, but if you get through it, you can see that there is a ton of value in a lot of these games, and it might open your eyes to other games to try out and play in the future from ATLUS, or just other RPGs in general. So what do you guys think overall about the state of 2024? For me, it's been up and down, but I think that Metaphor ReFantazio and ATLUS has definitely carried things overall, especially as Nintendo is kind of gearing up and getting ready for the Nintendo Switch 2, which they haven't really dropped as many of their big games when it comes to what you'd expect with Nintendo, as those games are coming for the Nintendo Switch 2. Super Mario Party Jamboree just came out, and that's a very fun game, in addition to Mario and Luigi Brothership that's coming out in November that I'm very excited for as a turn-based RPG with some adventure elements in the overworld. So yeah, not the greatest year overall, but still better than maybe people are giving it credit for. But what do you guys think when it comes to Metaphor ReFantazio, ATLUS, and 2024? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch and RPG videos right here on screen. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.